Oh, good morning. I was just enjoying my mug of water. I'm a Mormon, so in lieu of coffee or tea, I have water or something else. There are a lot of misconceptions and rumors, though, about what we as Mormons do and do not do. So I am here to help clarify the rules, enablers, today. Most of these things that seem strange or weird come from the word of wisdom, which is not strange at all. In fact, it's not even that big of a deal. It's found in our scriptures. The first thing that I should say is that the word of wisdom is a health code. It's for our own good that we do these things. Some things are bad, and we shouldn't do them. So that's why. Also, it's not mandatory. You're not going to be excommunicated or something ridiculous if you don't follow these things. You may be ostracized by people that are close to you. You also cannot be baptized, and you cannot go to the temple and go on a mission and basically get into heaven if you don't do them. But you don't have to do them. It's up to you, and you live with your choices. Okay, so the word of wisdom was a revelation given to the prophet Joseph Smith by the Lord. It was one of millions, but this one is especially important. You will find it in the scriptures. I love my scriptures, and I went ahead and put on a sticky note. There's not even that many rules. Enablers. I fit everything from the word of wisdom onto this handy-dandy sticky note, and I'm going to go over it with you today. So, but before we begin, let's just back up. You should know that one of the most important ideas in Mormonism is interpretation. Interpretation is this thing when it seems that Mormons are doing things that are not consistent with our scriptures or what the prophets have said, especially past ones. Well, past ones, but especially then, or other things that we believe in. We're not hypocrites. God isn't changing his mind. He has a plan. We, as Mormons, never do things that are politically expedient. Things might seem like coincidences, but they're not. We are the Lord's church, and the timing is his. It's just fortunate for us. We don't know how it worked out. We're lucky. So, when it seems that one of these things is inconsistent, the Lord, through the prophet, gives revelation, and they interpret the scriptures. So, with in mind this idea of interpretation, let's begin. The first rule is about tobacco. You are not allowed to chew or smoke tobacco. Bad. Also, it's bad for your skin, and your hair smells, and it's just not fashionable, and not the proper thing to do. There will be no chewing tobacco. Interestingly, this rule came about because one day Joseph was with his church friends, and they were chewing tobacco. And who are we to judge? They were like saving the world. Well, Jesus saved the world, but Joseph, you know. So they were hacking up and then spitting tobacco on the floor. They were busy. They couldn't go outside. And Joseph's lovely wife, she was a sweetheart for a while, she was chastising Joseph and berating him about how disgusting and filthy this tobacco chewing was. And it so happened that the Lord immediately thereafter said that there would be no more tobacco, by revelation, of course. And but Joseph and his friends were flustered that they could no longer use tobacco, but the women could use coffee and tea and drink those. And so right after that, the Lord said no more coffee and tea. Well, he said no more hot drinks, but it's been interpreted. Bingo, interpreted. Yay. Oh my gosh, you should come over to our house for family home evening next week, because we are going to have a lesson, and they're going to be casseroles and jello. Anyway, oh, excuse me. Okay, tobacco. This isn't all don'ts. There are do's. These things are just discouraged. Remember, you live with your choices. But you can use tobacco to rub on wounds and bruises and on cattle. I do not own a cow, so I do not have to rub anything on animals. And I typically use Neosporin or a wrap on my bruises. But you could use this if you want. It's always an option. Okay, the next thing is strong drinks, which has been interpreted. Isn't this fun? Everything makes sense when you buy into this narrative. No alcohol. It just means alcohol. Lots of religions don't drink alcohol. The Muslims don't, and lots of religions don't. So we don't have hangovers. You tend to do things that are inappropriate and touch people when you drink, and that's bad. So none of that. You may use alcohol for washing of the bodies. So if you want to take a bath in gin or do your hair with tequila, that's fine. You just can't lick yourself or someone else. Heaven forbid. That would just be inappropriate. Afterwards. Okay, grain-based drinks, mild drinks. These are acceptable. You might be thinking that barley and hops and wheat would be grains to make beer, which is a mildly alcoholic drink. But the prophet said, no, there will be no beer. So there you go. No alcohol, no beer. Okay, meat is confusing. Meat is to be used sparingly. Remember, we in Mormonism have generous definitions for various terms. It's also to be used mainly in winter. Well, it's usually winter somewhere on Earth, right? So we're a global church. And in times of excessive hunger. You know, the Lord's work takes a lot of time and energy, and we're excessively hungry. So meat is okay. Yay, I came up with one. Okay, caffeine. This is a misconception. Some people think that Mormons don't drink caffeine. It is true that in the past certain prophets basically said don't drink them, but that's no longer part of it. So does our and other pops that have caffeine are cold drinks. And the church has never come out and concretely said one thing or another. We're very good at avoidance. How about this? You will notice that at church functions at BYU at the Polynesian Cultural Center in Hawaii, there are no caffeinated beverages. So let's just take the hint. If the church doesn't do it, how righteous are we going to be at home? But it's up to you. Now, chocolate has caffeine in it, but we love chocolate. Brownies and potlucks and chocolate is great. Okay, so chocolate is fine. Lastly, no drugs, except ours. Can you imagine us on drugs or alcohol? So, yeah, none of that, obviously. And that's pretty much it. There are always whiners and complainers and antis. You know, it doesn't matter what we do. There are always people that are complaining about our church. No matter how hard we try, they have these facts and things that they want to, show us, which is stupid. We know how we're telling you our history. We know what rules we're telling you about. Give us some credit. We know what we're doing. We have choreographed and rehearsed this. However, just to show that we are going to prove you wrong, we are going to talk about 2 fun little factoids from history about the word of wisdom. We will approach them from a safety zone, which means that you should never, ever sift through Mormon history on your own. That's bad. But in 1930, it is true that refined flour was banned. It was found to be unrighteous, which was perhaps a poor decision in light of the World War and Great Depression that were about to happen. But the Lord knew what he was doing, and we can't question his will. And it was temporary. As soon as all that bad stuff happened, the Lord knew that it was time. And also, it is true that Joseph Smith did drink and operate a bar in Far West Missouri in 1838. It's really none of your business. Is it 1838 now? No. So, is the prophet now saying that it's acceptable? No. Is it in any way indicative of what kind of a person Joseph Smith was? How dare you even imply such a horrible thing? If you follow the word of wisdom, I promise you that your life will be blessed. And if it's not, then just know that if you weren't following it, things would be much worse for you. So just do these things. There's a promise in the Doctrine and Covenants that everything will be okay if you do them. And by okay, we mean we won't be responsible for anything bad that happens. But if you don't follow it, you are responsible for the bad things that happen to you. Does it make sense? It does to us, for some reason. We're so happy. We're so happy. Okay, well, bye. We thank thee, O God, for a cross.